Here's an adjustable leg that I like to use for my base cabinets. And it has two pins on it that I need to drill a hole out on the bottom of my cabinet so this will sit flush. Well, it just so happens that these pins, they're located 32 millimeters apart. So I could utilize the LR32 system to help me locate and drill out these holes. So what I'm going to do and show you in this video is show you how I built this jig to help speed up the process. And I used the LR32 system to make this jig. Let me show you the bottom panel of my cabinet. I have the front labeled for you so you can see what I'm talking about. And I have some green tape here, and those pieces of tape represent where I want to drill a hole. So I only need to drill 8 holes. So by making a jig, it's going to speed the process up a little quick. Well, before I make my jig, I want to determine which holes I want to drill out on the guide rail. Now, your standard toe kick, it comes in 3 inches or 76 millimeters from the front. The style of toe kick or adjustable leg that I use, my toe kick attaches to that leg. And I'll have a 18 millimeter thick toe kick. So if I want that to be around 76 millimeters, well, and I lay this here and I line up, the closest I can get, I want my first hole to represent this pin to be at 96 millimeters. My end stop right now is set up at 16 up and out. And 96 millimeters falls in between these 2 holes. So that tells me that I need to take my end stop and flip it over to 32 up and out. Now that my end stop is set at 32 up and out, that first hole, it gets divided in half. And now the third full hole, that falls on 96 millimeters. What I'll do is I'll use that third and fourth hole to drill out the holes that I need for these pins. Since I want my spacing to be the same from in the front and in the back, I'll set this back stop rod up at 32 up and out as well, and then I'll count to the third and fourth full hole. And those are the holes that I'll use to make my jig. Now I need to find out where I'm going to set my stop rods at. Personally, I set mine up at 37 millimeters. And 37 millimeters for the center of the holes. So that puts me like right there. Okay? And that's just my personal preference. You can play with it and move these in or out as you choose. But I found that by putting this at 37 millimeters, see, there's 2 different spots for me to put this leg. So if I wanted to, I could easily take and turn this around, and now this leg can be shared with the cabinet next to it. So something to keep in mind, setting this up, putting these legs, that's going to come to your preference as to how you want your cabinet to look. Just keep in mind that with this style leg, your toe kick snaps on to the leg. So if you have your leg out too far to the edge, your toe kick is going to stick proud of your cabinet, and I don't think you want that. Now this is the piece that I'm using to make this jig. It's 610 millimeters by 250 millimeters. Well, I'm all set up and I'm ready to plunge the front 2 holes. I'm plunging all the way through this piece of 12 millimeter plywood with a 1-inch bit. So I have a sacrificial bottom, that way I don't drill into the top of my MFT table. My end stop is set at 32 up and out. It's touching the front of my board. And my stop rods are set up at 37 millimeters. And my guide rail is secured to my workpiece. This 1-inch bit, I have the speed on my router set at 1. Well, unfortunately, while I was drilling these out, my battery on the camera died. So let me explain to you what I did. I had drilled these two holes out, and once I drilled these holes out, I repositioned the guide rail and I slid it down so that the bottom end stop touched the bottom of my board, repositioned the stop rods up, clamped everything down, and drilled these two holes out. You didn't miss much, just a bunch of noise being made, but at any rate, the holes are drilled out, and all I have to do now is attach a piece of wood on the front and on the side to give me something to stop against. Okay, well, I installed the stops on the sides and the top. Make sure, if you're going to build one of these, that you install the stop on the same side as your holes, because from here in, I have 37 millimeters to the center of these holes. As you can see, I already labeled it the front left, so when I want to drill out the left side of the cabinet holes, front left faces up, and I simply take it, flip it over, and I can drill out the right side. So all I need to do is set my jig up, make sure that these stops are up against the edges of my panel, clamp it in place, now I have a 1-inch diameter hole, and I have a 1-inch OD guide bushing in the guide plate. And I have a 12 millimeter router bit installed. Now I need to set my depth of plunge. So what I'll do is I'll insert my guide bushing into my hole and plunge the router down so that the bit is touching my workpiece and lock it in place. I'm going to use the lowest turret, and I'm going to zero everything out. Now for the adjustable leg, I need a 12 millimeter depth of plunge. So with everything zeroed out and my router bit touching my actual surface that I'm going to be routing out, I can set my scale up at 12 millimeters and lock it in place. And before I go any further, I just wanted to point this out. When you add this guide bushing to the router, when you look inside here, you're actually adding space between the guide bushing and the router. So make your plunge, okay, and make sure that the collet does not come in contact with the top of your guide bushing. And in my case, I'm safe. So I have this 12 millimeter router bit installed, and I'm just going to keep the speed at 1. Nice, clean, balanced look, and everything fits perfectly. And with this adjustable leg, there's a through hole here, so what I would do is come in, take a nice square it up, and put a screw in there, and that's going to secure the leg to the bottom of the cabinet. Okay, a quick overview of the jig that I made. It is 250 millimeters wide by 610 millimeters. I have 1-inch holes 37 millimeters from the edge. And I used a 1-inch OD guide bushing on the router with a 12 millimeter router bit so I could attach the legs to the bottom of the cabinet. Now this is the beauty about the LR32 system is you could place these legs anywhere you want onto your cabinet. So you could place these holes anywhere you want utilizing the LR32 system. Now in the past, if I wanted to make a jig like this, I would have to set up my drill press table and a Forstner bit and hope that I got the quality and precision that I was able to achieve with the LR32 system. So I just wanted to pass this along to you, give you something to think about. Think outside the box. There's other reasons that you could use that LR32 system. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. In the next video I'll have the cabinet assembled and I'll show you that secret about getting that perfect reveal for your drawer fronts.